and new WWE champion, Paul Bourgon. Put your hands together for Paul, everybody.
One of you guys has a crow problem.
Our Father, for I have sinned.
On the lips. I can't even make my own stuff funny. How am I going to make your stuff funny? Like, ha!
Never have I ever had sex in a public location.
Been a very bad boy.
That'll be 3 Hail Marys and a Blowski.
It was intended to be a fart, but it turned out to be more than just a fart.
Music to my non-existent ears, man.
Yeah, buddy.
And we are live for the Six Nuts podcast, which is 6 nuts, 3 comedians, and 2.5 dicks. I am your host, Dave, joined as always by Paul Bourgon and Jordan Angus. Gentlemen, what is up for episode? What are we? Episode 42, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where we are.
Yeah, definitely. That seems accurate.
Yeah. Well, what is up, man? What is up? Paul Bourgon, this is your first episode. Is this your first episode since becoming champion? Or your second?
The second. We did one the day after, and
right, yeah,
three
of
of
course.
us were just absolute shitbags. Like the 3 of us are like it was. If anybody watched that whole thing, they're like, I'm concerned that they're going to be stalkers. Like we were at our worst that day. So
well, I mean, we've gotten a lot of views on it.
Okay.
Maybe it's just me. I watched it 64 times, so maybe it's all just me watching it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
If somebody watches like just 2 minutes of it, does that count as a view?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the minimum amount they have to watch before it counts as a view, but it's not the full episode. They're not watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
And counting as a view. So we got a big show today, gentlemen.
Yes, we
This
do.
is almost becoming the LOL podcast because for the second guest in a row, we got somebody who is from LOL Entertainment down in Cornwall. Do you want to bring him on? Let's bring him on right now. It is the one,
Let's do it.
the only, Patt Cardinal. Pat, welcome to the
What's
Six
going
Nuts
on, boys?
podcast.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
It's
thanks for coming.
Great to have you, man. First thing I want to ask you right off the bat, you were part of the Battle of Ontario that happened a couple of weeks ago. Cornwall got demolished by Ottawa. I heard it was rigged, is what I heard. There's a rumor going around that there's going to be another battle coming on, a rematch, so to speak. But Pat, let me get your, you were part of it. You did very well. In fact, your whole team did really well. I want to get your thoughts right off the bat, your thoughts of the Battle of Ontario.
Man, it was an awesome show. Yeah, it was a little defeating hearing that outcome, but good boy Jordan set us up for a nice little rematch there to come up in the near future. We're gonna take it on our home turf this time, and we'll see if the tables turn. Because it was a great show. I can't say there was a single bad comedian. Everybody did phenomenal. But I do personally feel like we edged it out. But it is what it is. I'm not taking anything away from it. It was a great show. Hometown advantage, always a key factor, and we knew that coming in. So it was good.
Wow. So you feel that your 4 comics did better than the Ottawa comics? Is that where you're?
I would say so, but that's I got some bias in that too, right? So it's just how it is. Where the results speak for themselves, and we're not gonna challenge those. We'll just focus on the rematch.
Wow. So on the bitterness scale, on the scale of 1 to 10, how bitter are you?
Oh, I was the night of. I was maybe like a 6, but we've gone through it. We're good. We're good.
Yeah,
It's all in good fun, and it was a great show. It was a great crowd. The crowd was definitely the true winner that night. So we can't say anything else.
I was gonna say you guys were very humble about it too. Like you handled it like champions yourselves, even though you're not right now. Doesn't mean it's not gonna happen in the future. But no, you guys handled it great. It is tough with hometown advantage. That's kind of going to be what happens. But it is It is coming to Cornwall. It is coming to Cornwall. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So, what was your biggest takeaway from that, Pat? I mean, your biggest surprise could be a good surprise, bad surprise, overall on that night.
My biggest thing was seeing Jordan headline that night. To be honest, he did a phenomenal job. Like, you can tell that crowd was really there to ultimately support him. And man, you had a packed room. Like, that was awesome. Like, I really am not bitter at all by the results. Right? Like, it was a phenomenal show, and we didn't really expect to truly come out the winner that night. But you know, when you have a good showing all across the board like that, it's just it is what it is. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway, was seeing Jordan headline. We're excited to see where he goes from there.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
So LOL, man, are you a co-founder of LOL?
I am. I am. We're 3 co-founders. So myself, Joe Bowman, not your average Joe, and then we have a financial advisor, Steve McDonald, on the back end as well. So
yeah, he was there at the Battle of Ontario as well.
Yeah, he came out to sport.
All right. Well, before we get too far into our discussions, we need to do something very, very important. We need to take care of some business. We need to do a segment called Hold My Beer. All right. So this is a segment where we go around the room and introduce our beverage of choice. It doesn't necessarily have to be a beer per se. But Pat, as the guest of honor, do you want to kick this one off, or do you want to defer?
It's up to you guys. I can kick us off. I got a pretty cool drink going.
All right, let's see what you got going, Pat.
All right, so I'm a father, I'm a working man, and I'm a promoter. So I came in with the energy drink, the C4 Performance Energy. It enhanced endurance, all the 9 yards. But I know it's a segment called Hold My Beer, so I had to make it alcoholic. So I also got a little Mitchie of Jack Daniels there.
Woo, yes. Oh, yes. Right from the bottle, man. I love it, man.
Oh boy.
Love it.
We like our whiskey in Cornwall, boys.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Joe had? I think not your average Joe. He had whiskey too, didn't he?
I think he had like some kind of coffee liqueur contraption.
Yeah, the butter tart. Butter tart liqueur.
The butter tart liqueur.
Yeah.
Butter tart.
Right. Right on. Oh, wow. That's well done. Drinking right from the bottle, man. I love it. So by the end of the podcast, that bottle will be half empty, 3/4 empty.
Let's hope fully empty, bud.
Yeah, right on. There he goes. All right. So that is Pat Cardinal. Let's move down to your right. Paul Bourgon, what is your beverage of choice this week, man?
So my beverage of choice is a Pride can Kolsch of Kolsch. So like men who like penises and women who like vaginas would enjoy this beer. I mean, it's a good beer. I the first time I've had it, and I don't know. Maybe I'm gay. I mean, I don't know. I've been questioning so much shit after I've been drinking these beers. They're so good. You know what I mean? But yeah, I got them the other night at the show that we did at Lower Town. So cheers.
Very nice. Very nice. All right.
That's it.
All right. Very good. Let's move up. Jordan, what is your beverage of choice tonight?
I actually have an alcoholic beverage this time. Last week, I totally pussed out. I was so hungover. I had water. But this week, I got the Mighty Eagle Lager beer. It's by Blood Brothers Brewery in Toronto, Canada. But it's an American-style lager. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's
nice.
the alcohol in it? What's the percentage?
It's 4.5%. So they Canadianized it for us.
Oh, nice.
Nice. That's a good looking beer, man. So is it like a blonde or a?
It's a lager. It's a lager.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's not bad.
Nice.
It's better than some of the other ones
To
I've
this
had.
day, I couldn't tell you what a lager is or I know it
same
sounds
here.
like Guinness, but like I have no fucking. Like, just give me a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a beer. You know?
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. I'm going to end it with Old Faithful, Mill Street Organic. That's my go-to. So that's what I'm going with today. So
Good choices all around.
Cheers, gentlemen. Cheers.
every time I have Mill Street, there's a 50% chance that I will have uncontrollably explosive diarrhea.
Oh,
Like just for like it comes out of nowhere. And
wow.
but the other 50%, I enjoy it. So it's always like it's a toss up. You know what I mean?
It's a love
It's a
hate
win-win.
relationship, man.
Yeah.
Love hate.
Yeah.
Love hate for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it in the beer that you're just like, oh god, I don't feel this isn't good?
I think it's the E. coli.
The E. coli?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to develop a sort of a tolerance to it, but you know,
Are you
it's
telling
like,
me
man, I
there's-
can have a glass of water and it'll trick me off. Like you guys, I told you guys all these stories about me. Like sometimes I'll just puke by thinking about it. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
who knows what's going on in my body? It might not be Mill Street. You know, not to put Mill Street down because I like it too, Dave. It's one of my go-tos if they have it, but you know.
That's comforting to know because I just took a big swig of it.
I wish I could take that story back. Yeah.
No, man.
So Pat Cardinal, tell us a little bit more about yourself, man. How long you've been doing comedy? What made you get started, and how you're liking it so far?
Oh man, I love stand-up comedy. I've been doing it roughly about 2 years now, maybe a year and a half, I'd say. I got into it through Joe, not your average Joe. About 2 years ago, he decided to start putting on his own shows, and he had offered me a host spot for a Halloween bash that we had done. So as a host spot, as we were like first spot, I was like, not too sure what to expect. I don't really feel like I have to be funny. I wrote a few jokes just to kind of kill some time kind of thing. But I wasn't really I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself about it. I just kind of went into it with no expectation. That night, man, I had the high of a lifetime. Like when I got off that stage, not even off that stage, when I got that first laugh, it was like, oh, crazy. Like this is a different type of adrenaline kind of thing, right? So I got off stage that day and I was like, man, I stayed up till like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was feeling like Jordan was on the last podcast for the next 3 days, to be honest. But I felt super great. So then he asked me, he's like, would you ever do it again? And I'm like, yeah, I would. But I'm like, I don't think I would do the host per se. I think I'd try maybe a 6-minute opening set. So we did that at a local bar here in town. And sure enough, it was a packed room. And I got up there, I opened the show. And again, I got laugh after laugh after laugh. So I was like, man, this is insane. And again, that morning or that evening, I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning and I was just buzzing and nothing could create that high anymore. Right. So I was like, I got to stick to this. And then we have a good friend, Mark Vincent, who's a local comedy OG. And he kind of told me, he's like, man, he's like, take that set that you've got right now. And he's like, just keep polishing it off, keep getting up there. And he's like, you'll see eventually you'll have those opportunities. So we eventually got into 23. I set my goal for 2023 to do Yuck Yucks at least one time by the end of the year. I ended up getting my first Yuck Yucks opportunity on the 420 show that year. And then I got 4 other opportunities, including an opportunity in this summer competition. So I just taken everything and just kept rolling with it. And then along the way, we just decided we need to make this a little bit more business side. And then we focused on that and created LOL Entertainment.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I know Paul, he models or doesn't model, but he was inspired by Mitch Hedberg and, Jordan, I can't remember who your big inspiration was, or just Chappelle, right? You like Chappelle?
McDonald.
McDonald.
Yeah.
Well, why you going with Chappelle?
Not Norm, Mike.
Yeah, Mike McDonald.
Yeah. Well, I said Chappelle because you're black, right?
So. No, that's fair though. He's a really good storytelling comedian, and that's what I do. I'm a storyteller, so yeah. No, I like Chappelle a lot, but it was Mike McDonald for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have an inspiration, Pat?
I got a few, to be honest. To me, it was like a mix of like Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, and Robin Williams that were my like go-tos in my era, I guess.
Yeah.
So when I got into stand-up comedy, I tried to like characterize myself with a little bit of all three of their personas.
You're 32, eh, Pat?
33 now.
33. Okay, yeah. So you're born in 1991.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you were probably really young when like Ace Ventura: Pet Detective came out.
I was, but that's probably one of my top 5 favorite movies.
Dude, I used to go to school dressed up. My sister would do my hair. I'd wear like the Hawaiian shirts. It'd be like a Tuesday in
That's
February.
awesome.
And like,
Yeah, man.
obsessed. I used to watch the movie and then rewind it and watch it again. I know that entire movie. I know like the blinking sequence of that movie. Like it's
That's the thing, right? Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is just a legend. Like the facial expressions, the character, like,
Yep.
and in all genres, right? So it's like,
yeah. My mom used to work with his old his first manager. So Jim Carrey's original manager when he was in like, Southern Ontario and stuff. And he came over one night because my mom was like, my kids are obsessed with Jim Carrey, right? And he's like, he brought some like home videos, because at the time they had like a video camera, right? They didn't have phones to film his sets at like Yuck Yucks or wherever. So I got to see a couple stand-up acts of him, like that you can't find on YouTube. You know what I mean? They're like private, private shows that this guy had. And Christ, man, I can totally relate to you that he was an influence on you. You know what I mean? Like he's absolutely
for sure, right? Like even as a young kid, like going to school and stuff like that, it was just the class clown and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like just being the funny guy. And I never really put it as a thought in my head to be a stand-up comedian, to be honest. Like it was never a goal of mine or whatever. It like found me. I was at a dark time in my life too. I had went through like a recent separation with my wife, but we're back together. Like everything's been solved on that side. But like I was at a really dark time in my life when I found stand-up comedy. And it ultimately all made sense at that point. It was like all this time I didn't know what to do with my life, and then realizing like, man, it was in front of me the whole time. You're a funny guy. Just get up there, do your thing.
Yeah, because comedy's like an escape, right?
For sure, man. For sure.
Well,
Yeah.
he's talking about that high. He's talking about that high he got. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I can remember my first time getting up and then off stage. Oh my God! Like it wasn't not drugs, not sex, not pizza, not Junkelville.
I don't know if I'd say it's better than sex, but I'd say it's better than any drug I've ever done. And I'm from Cornwall, man. I've done a lot.
Well,
I'm curious.
I relate to you. You know what I mean? And then do you find that like when you're at in that dark time and going through a separation and then you start doing comedy that like you kind of had no fear because you're
so like my separation happened slightly before we got back together. So I kind of was on an upper I'd say in my life. But again, like it was that it's when you got up there and you had that no fear mentality, right? Yeah. It's like you realize like, oh man, this isn't actually that hard. But that's a personal view as well, right? Not everybody will see it that way. And, I still feel moments when I get up on stage and I have the shakes and I'm like, man, what am I doing? But, like the more you do it, the more you get over that as well.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, how long have you guys all been doing stand-up comedy? I know Dave's background.
About the same time as you. Yeah.
Jordan and Paul, I haven't necessarily gotten your whole backgrounds before. So
you want to go first, Paul?
I'm going to let you take this one because I've got a very brief answer.
Okay. I actually started stand up in 2012. Not as Jordan Angus. I had, I guess, a stage name, but it was mostly because I suffered from crippling stage anxiety. I like had a really tough time being up there. And I didn't want any of my friends or family to see me. So I lived here in Ottawa, but I would go to Toronto and Montreal to open mics as like some random ass name and try to get lotto spots and stuff like that. And then around 2016, I stopped for like a long time. I won't get too much into that. It was a pretty crappy time in my life. But 2022, I decided to take the stage again after being away from it for a long time. And it's like you were talking about it a little bit. Like you weren't sure what you wanted to do with your life. You were a class clown, but I like to describe it as it's like you're able to breathe again almost. You know, like
Yeah.
for
sure.
me, growing up, I wanted to make people laugh. That was part of who I was. So I didn't do it for quite a few years. Then there was the pandemic, and it was really difficult to just convince myself that I can actually do this, and I need to pursue it more. And it is like you said, you get up on stage, you get a laugh, and it is a high. It's just, you don't feel anything like that from any other drug. I used to do some time. Then I'd have a really difficult time sleeping, so I tried smoking weed to just kind of calm my nerves down a bit and my adrenaline levels a bit. But after a while, you get kind of used to it. But yeah, to answer your question, on and off since 2012. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell you got that experience, to be honest. Like your stage presence has grown a lot. If you were to tell me you had the anxiety, like the stage anxiety like that, like I would never believe it now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's nowhere near what it used to be. I still get nervous before going up, but I use it differently than I did back then. Back then, you could tell I watched stuff that I did when I was first getting into it, and I'm not even the same comic. Like, I would never do crowd work back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. You keep going at it, and you get better and better, right? As long as you put that work in. So
Absolutely.
I remember Jordan, but I remember that time when we met at Meow. And
yeah.
You were saying that like you were doing it for a while, then you stopped and then got back into it, you know?
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember you saying, you know, like, because you were in it pretty like full time ish, if you so to speak, right? And then that's when you took that break and then came back. It's good you came back, you know. It's like you had that. It's like that thing in the pit of your stomach, you know. You were like, I can't not do this, you know.
No, I almost did it though. I almost didn't. Like I said, I went through a very rough time in my life, and it was actually my mother, who you guys have all met. Yuck Yucks at Biagio's was having the NTS nights, and she told me, like, you should consider going back to it. And I'm like, I don't even think I'm funny anymore. Like, it was dark. It was a really dark period for me.
Wow.
And I don't know. The first time I went up again, it was like, oh fuck, I'm home. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
That NTS night, man, that is something. Like I remember my first time at NTS, and it was insane. Like you almost don't feel like you belong in those moments, but you have to take advantage of them.
Yep.
Paul, what about you, man? How long? What's your story?
Well, I was saying, I did the first time I did stand up was in Cornwall. It was at
way.
It was at the I can't remember the name of the place, but it was at a bar that one of my buddies that I went to high school with. He was like a hotel food and beverage guy or something like that.
Okay.
And he was a really funny guy, and I always had this in my mind that I wanted to do comedy. I've always wanted to do it, and Dave knows this. Like even since like 2013, sorry, it was 1996. I have jokes that I've written down, you know, and
crazy, man.
Like shit that it's all about farts and stupid shit, but still, the fact that I am actually writing stuff down, like I don't know why I was doing it. It was just I was writing things down, and this was before I even knew that it's sort of like a habit that you should have as a comedian is to write your stuff down. Like don't just think of it like, oh, I'll remember that because it's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you won't.
No, I did it. First time I did it, another friend of mine. My buddy asked me, he's like, do you want to do stand up? And I had it in my mind always, like I felt like a coward because I wasn't pursuing it. You know, I felt like, fuck, like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? You know, because it was scary, right? And my rule that I had in my mind was if you're not going to pursue it, if somebody asks you that and puts it on a fucking platter for you, you have to say yes. You know, and so he asked me, he's like, "Do you want to do comedy?" I'm throwing a comedy thing down in Cornwall, and I was like, "Yeah." You know, he's like, "See if you can get a buddy too." So one of my friends, a friend of mine, and I, we drove down.
Oh, did we lost him?
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry. So we drove down to
not.
Cornwall, and I was like, the two of us drove down, and we're like, "We're funny, right?" We're like, "Yeah." Nothing written down, no jokes, just going down there with like a couple things that we might say, but no preparation, and it was a fucking disaster. Like, it was just the two of us drove home, and we're just like this the whole way home. Like,
Oh man,
like,
that's amazing.
Rude awakening, right? But I did comedy again. This was like, I'd say 2010, I think it was. So I did it again a couple years later at an auditorium, and then I did it again once more. But I'd say about, you know, to long story long, I about two years ago or 2.5 years ago or so, I finally just was like what I was saying, had that feeling in my stomach, like, you know, you talk about mental health, you're talking about things that you should be doing in your life. And I'm a strong believer that like a lot of people are unhappy because they aren't doing what they know they should be doing. They're either with the wrong person, they're at the wrong job, they're not taking care of themselves a certain way. You know, whether you put it down on paper or say it out loud, in your head or in the back of your head somewhere, you know when you're not, you're messing with your chi, kind of, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
And I found that as soon as I was to touch on what you're saying about that high, I found I again, you know, I went through a breakup, and I was fucking like, okay, man, you got two options, like follow your dream or fucking get in the dirt, you know, like, and
yes, that's right.
I'm telling you, man, I went took a class just to get my ass in gear, and took that class, and you know, even at the time, and Dave can attest, even just when you go to this first class, and the instructor says, "Okay, you're gonna come up tonight on the mic. You're just gonna do 2 minutes or 1 minute or whatever." Just that feeling of going up in a class of just, you know, 8 other, you know, people that are taking a class as well. No, not a packed crowd or anything, but just the getting up on a stage, in a comedy club with the lights and the microphone, and then having to say something. That whole experience after I got off, regardless of what I said or how I did, that high, that like, I did it, I fucking did it, I did it.
Yep.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I'm not a coward anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm finally took that leap. You know. So like,
like,
yeah.
Going through that anxiety is like it's maybe painful at the time, but it's much less painful than the pain of regret, you know?
Yeah. Like, people ask me all the time, like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get up on stage. I don't know how people do that. And I tell you this right now, the four of us all can agree with this. You get anxiety and you get nervous and shit like that. But my urge to make people laugh, my insatiable, ceaseless urge for people to like love me, you know, like I want people what I want is for people to be driving home that night and be like, I knew one day that he would come. I knew one day that guy would come. You know what I mean? Like,
it's the validation.
I want to make people happy, but that it outweighs the nervousness, you know, like we still have nervousness, but the urge to make people laugh is much greater. So
I feel like that need,
go ahead.
Sorry. I feel like that need is increased since the pandemic as well, right? Like, people got even darker than they were at that in those times. So it ultimately, comedy was like what took me out of that portion and was like, hey, you're gonna refocus on yourself, like laugh it off, you know, like that's the biggest thing.
I've said this to people before, not to start, I don't mean to talk too much, but I was thinking this a lot during that pandemic. I was thinking, like, you know, the world is going to see, because it affected the whole world, the world is going to see an incredible increase, an influx in art, in and people who paint,
Yep.
and people who sing, and people who play instruments, and people who do comedy, and because you're left by yourself at home.
Yeah.
What do? You know, you
Yep.
know what I got sick and tired of? Cracking ice, hearing the ice tray crack because making myself drinks. You know, but like,
Yeah.
there is something to be the benefit of it is like everybody's stuck at home and you have to like you're almost forced to your vices. Like I play the guitar every fucking day, and I was like, oh my god, I'm becoming the greatest guitarist in the world. Like nobody can beat me. You know what I mean? Just jokingly, but like you can see your progression because you're almost forced to your art. You know what I'm saying? So that you're right. That pandemic really did. It really did sort of nudge people in that artistic direction.
Big time. In fact, that's what inspired me. You know, you realize in that pandemic, like life is short. And if you don't make that decision to do it now, like, so when are you going to do it? And I wanted to touch on, get all of your thoughts on dealing with the anxiety. Like, and I'll go around the room, but do you guys have like a pre-game routine, so to speak, or something that you do as a ritual before you go on stage to deal with the anxiety? I'll start with you, Pat.
My big thing is to just get mentally prepared. So I'll take a minute, I'll eliminate everything in the room, and I'll just get myself in the zone. And then I try to pay attention a little bit to the comics that have gone on before me, so I can kind of relate my material depending on where it hit. And then, ultimately, just getting in that right mind space for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jordan, what about you, man? How do you deal with anxiety?
See, it's evolved with me as well, the way I've dealt with it. I did a show with Jeremy Hotz. Do you guys, know who he is?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I did a show with him, and this was probably around the peak of when I really suffered stage anxiety. And I talked to him 5 minutes, and he told me like he does this all the time, and that's actually to cope with his own anxiety. Okay, so it's a pressure thing. And so he told me I need to find something similar to that, so that way I'm not focusing on everything else that's around me. I'm focusing on that exact thing, right? That pressure. So I can keep going, but my focus isn't, oh my God, I'm not feeling okay right now. So I used to I would take my hand and cup just under my armpit and press on the inside, right? So if you watch some of my older stuff, if you're ever on my YouTube stuff, you can actually see me do that. And that's me coping with, I'm not feeling comfortable right now. Now I don't do that. Now I'm pretty okay, and it's just beforehand. I think you might have seen me jumping around before I was headlining or whatever. I'm excited now. I'm excited. The anxiety I feel is excitement, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Like I have work to do. So I've evolved with it, but it's, again, if you deal with stage anxiety or if you deal with any type of anxiety, there are ways to cope with it. It's just sometimes you just need to talk to somebody. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people do push-ups or doing whatever in the green room.
Yeah, Joe
I've never
Shadowbox,
seen you do push-ups. Paul.
Yeah, Joe did
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
fucking comboing it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it is good adrenaline rush too. So
Yeah.
Paul, what do you have any coping mechanisms, Paul, that you want to share with us?
Coping mechanisms. I think my whole entire life is a coping mechanism. Fuck, like, I mean, like I'm a like if I want it, I'm gonna do it kind of guy. Like, but as for preparation when it comes to having a set to do, or like going to a club and having to do having to go up on stage, I'm very ordered and I'm very meticulous about my pre-game thing. I find that I'm really what's the word? I'm like alone. I keep to myself the days that I have shows for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't do it on purpose. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be answering messages. I don't want to be like, people don't like, my family knows not to call me. Yeah. It's weird, Jordan? Like I'm like that, but I'm very, very, very aware of the time. And I know that, like, okay, if I have to be at, a club at for a show that starts at 8, I'm like, okay, it's 4:00. like you should be. And when it gets to like 6 o'clock, I'm like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. At 6:05, I'm gonna go take a shower. And I take my shower, come out.
Yeah.
I know at 6:45 I should be dressed. I'm like, and it's almost like, I don't want to say Liam Neeson from Taken, but he sits there in the car and he's like this. He watches the clock tick to like whatever. But I'm just very, very aware of that, and I stick to that. So I mean, it could be a nervous thing to do. Like some people are like, oh fuck, I have a show, I gotta go. But you know what I mean? Like some people eat before, but like, and I'm just starting to be able to like eat the day of. I'm starting to be able to like feel excitement as opposed to nervousness. It's a feeling that's I know is changing in my body. I can feel it. I don't quite know how to explain it. I was saying it to my sister talking about it, and I was saying like I was excited. I wasn't like nervous or like, you know what I mean? My heart wasn't beating the same way. And she's like, you know what that is, man? It's confidence. And I'm like, well, and I thought about it after. I was like, well, I think it might be, and I'm not trying to like gloss myself, but I guess those are my sort of rituals, so to speak, kind of thing. Like I'm very, like I say, I keep to myself, and I make sure I'm on time. I make sure I'm punctual.
Wow, a punctual comic. What a concept. That's a novel concept, man. I've noticed that, Paul. Like,
as a friend, as a family member, as a like anything I have to do. Time is there for like, hey man, I'll pick you up at 7. If you're not here at 7, I'm like, what the fuck? Like fuck, man. Yeah. You get here at 7:13. I want to know what. I need 13 minutes of an explanation as to why did you say 7? You know what I mean?
I'm so the same way, and I think we showed that when we showed up for the Battle of Ontario. I think it was like 6 o'clock, and we were supposed to be there for what you told us to be there for 7:30. Like, yeah, it's just if you're not punctual, like, what are you? You know what I mean? Like, you need to have control of your time.
If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was huge for me. You guys showed up early.
There's a reliability to it. You're like, like you're reliable. If you're reliable, it's one of the worst characteristics in the world for someone is to be unreliable, to be undependable, not dependable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I just, at the very end of the day, and I mean, at the very beginning of the day, you kind of want to depend on yourself. You want to make sure you're not letting yourself down. So if you follow that sort of structure, you know what I mean? And then some people are different, right? But I just personally,
hey man, and it gives you time for surprises too.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. You never know what's going to happen on your road, on your road trip.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, the worst thing is like walking into a show like 2 minutes before it starts and you're all frazzled. Like, you want to have time to just relax and decompress a bit.
I can't. The feeling of being late to something or like rushed. Yeah. That's the most nervous and heart beating. I can't stand it. I feel I'm a different person when I'm being rushed.
For sure.
I like to show up early too because I like to look at my crowd and see who's doing what's going on. Am I gonna utilize this somehow in my set?
Change your words around maybe because
like that's for me. Yeah, showing up, being punctual is a very important. That's how I was raised, anyways. Like don't. I know, like you guys all know I'm black, but my family, my black side of the family, you need to be punctual. We don't actually run by West Indian time. You need to show up 5 minutes early. It's disrespectful to show up late, regardless of what everybody else thinks.
Exactly.
I always show up usually to the shows a half hour, sometimes an hour before, and I'm just kind of gauging who walks in, what the atmosphere is like, and it does affect my set sometimes, right? So
I've actively had to be like, don't leave at 7:15, leave at 7:20, because you're always the first person there, and now it's giving me anxiety because I'm always the first person there, and I don't want to be the first person there anymore. But like, you know what I mean? So,
and do you ever find like
nervous twitch kind of thing? I guess.
You ever find when you do that, you're like, I'm gonna leave at 7:20 instead of leaving at 7:15 because I know I'm gonna be early, and you're still ended up being like 20 minutes early. You're like, all right,
yeah.
No, that's good.
Speaking of punctual, I know you guys got a busy schedule, so we're going to move on to a segment. Pat, I'm not sure you're ready for this, but it's something called Whose Joke Is It Anyway? intro goes on way too long, but anyway.
It's all good. But real quick, funny story. So I've been watching your podcast, and every time I get up to this point, I stop because I didn't want to. I didn't want to spoil the fun for myself when I got to this moment. So yeah.
So you didn't see Joe's version of this then?
No, not at all. I will watch it after this, but I wanted to wait till I got my turn to do it to even see any of it. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
This is a segment called Whose Joke Is It Anyway? We're going to do 3 rounds. And Pat, how this works is we're going to take one at a time. So for round 1, I will read you 3 jokes. One was written by Paul, one was written by Jordan, and one was written by me. You have to guess who wrote which joke, and then we'll do it 2 other rounds where Paul will read and then Jordan. So if you are ready.
Right. Yes, sir. Let's go.
Round 1, joke number 1. All right, here we go. One thing I've always wondered is, can atheists get insurance policies that cover acts of God? That's joke number 1. That's joke 1. All right. Joke number 2 is, I'm going to go through all of them, and then you could guess.
Sounds good.
Joke number 2. My friends say that my girlfriend treats me as if she's my mother. Ridiculous, right? My girlfriend fed me a deep-fried cheese curd the other night while making airplane noises. Her friends couldn't be more wrong. My mother would never feed me while making airplane noises. She knows I'm afraid of airplanes. That's joke number 2. And joke number 3 is, did you know that 5 out of 4 Canadians do math bad? All right, so I'm not going to reread them, Pat, but
so I would go joke number 1, Jordan. Joke number 2 would be Dave, and joke 3 would be Paul.
Pat, you're 1 for 3. Paul wrote the 5 out of 4 Canadians doing math bad.
Yes.
I wrote the insurance one, and Jordan wrote the story of the airplane noises. So you're 1 for 3, man. I think Joe was 0 for 3 in round 1. So you're doing better than him so far, man.
Yeah.
Joe didn't get a single one.
He was so rattled too. He was like, "Fuck!"
He was. He's super competitive.
Man. That's good. That's good. Oh, he is, man. He truly is. We did a Chuckles and Knuckles event where he was like the main event as a boxer. He is truly the most competitive person I've ever met in my life.
All right, so you're 1 for 3 so far. Round 2, I think, is Paul. Paul, are you going to read jokes for round 2?
I will read some jokes.
All right, here we go.
You ready? You ready, Pat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here's the first one. If you were eating dinner with the Elephant Man and he had some food on the side of his mouth, would it really matter if you said anything? Joke number 2. Do you ever think about how some food sounds like innuendo for a vagina? I ate croffle, but I still think about all I think about was a queef and a blue waffle. It tasted like beaver tail though. Beaver tail. Another one that makes me think of vagina. Those are like 3 of my favorite foods. And joke number 3. A California mother of 12 won $50,000 lottery jackpot thanks to her husband. Instead of buying preferred tickets, he mistakenly bought home the wrong ones, and the woman said, "Finally, a mistake we won't have to feed for the next 20 years."
Nice.
What do you think?
That's a tough one. So I would go with 1 being Paul, 2 being Dave, and 3 being Jordan.
Well, you got me again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, joke number, I think you got the
joke
other
number
2
2
wrong,
is
right?
Jordan, and joke number 3 is Dave. Jordan.
So is the opposite. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, it's called. I'm serious. That's actually at a place that I have the show tonight. They have something called the croffle. It's a croissant waffle, and this is true. All I could think about was a queef and a blue waffle, and I was like, "That's disgusting."
Well,
Nice.
you're 2 for 6 so far, man. So if you're a baseball player, you're at the Hall of Fame level, man.
Nice.
Sounds about like my academic level too.
All right, we got round 3 with Jordan.
Okay. Joke number 1. If you ate a loaf of shit, would it come out looking like bread? Joke number 2. I took a trip to Mexico. I absolutely hated it. Everyone there kept calling me an asshole. They kept saying, "Hola, que paso?" Joke number 3. We grew up poor, so whenever I asked my dad to buy me something, he would say, "Does it look like I'm made of money?" I would say, "No, of course not. Money is not even made of money. It's made of a very..." I can't even read my own handwriting. Hold on, I almost fucked up there.
That's part of the joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, no, of course not. Money's not even made of money. It's made of a very flexible, malleable material that does not deteriorate very easily. Dad, you are none of those things.
So I would go Paul, Jordan, Dave.
Oh, you got 3 for 3 on that one.
3 for 3.
Yeah.
Standing ovation. Nicely done.
Good job.
You friggin' nailed it, man.
5 for 9. I
Pat
just
has run my
passed,
show.
but just like my academic level.
Hey, Pat, you run my show with this one. Yeah, you know every one of my jokes. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry, Paul. Like
No, don't
you're
be sorry.
a great
No, I love
joke
it.
writer, bro.
Yeah.
You're a great joke writer.
Thanks, man. Yeah, there's the stupidest things ever. There's no punchline at all. It's just stupid thoughts.
Well, the challenge of doing this game is Paul's jokes are all short, right? So if there's a short one and 2 long ones, you know right away that, Paul's is going to be the short one.
Yeah.
So he's trying to write short ones too.
Oh,
But
I was trying to think if I was like you guys, so.
Yeah, and I did last time we did this. I really tried writing it in both the Dave and Paul's style of writing.
Yeah.
So I did like you'll see it when you watch Joe's this part, but I did a seagull joke and I went into character. I'd method acted Paul. I'm like, what? And then I just went to fucking town. And same with Dave. Like I was trying to screw up Joe really badly.
That's awesome, man.
Who's standing up? Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. So that was whose joke is it anyway? We're getting close to 50 minutes. So I know you guys are really busy. A lot of big stuff going on tonight for Jordan and Pat. You got stuff going on, and Paul, you got stuff going on. So let's go around the room for final thoughts. Jordan, I'll start with you. Your final thoughts for today.
I'm really glad that we got Pat on here. Pat, just want to let you know, man, the last time I came out to Cornwall, not that Cornwall has talent, but when your Laugh Out Lounge, you gave me a fire right before I went up on stage. And I was ready to fucking take out that whole crowd. So I'm glad I was able to deliver for you. I appreciate it, man. I love being on the same set as you guys. Thank you so much for coming all the way out to Ottawa to do Battle of Ontario. I can't wait to bring it to Cornwall and show respect to that town. I got a lot of shit going on. I got a show tonight, ladies night, comedy night at Lux Bloom Flowers Cafe. Every Thursday, I have an open mic at the Mill Tavern at Manitic. You don't have to be a comedian. You could do all sorts of different acts. And we have a show, Six Nuts Comedy Show, Sunday at Barley Mill at Westboro. So you want to come and check it out. We're going to do one of our little bits that we do on the show there. That's going to be fun.
Right on. Paul, your final thought for today.
Final thought, sort of same as what Jordan said. I was talking to Joe about this after, and I was saying, because I was, I really found that you guys, since we've met, since we've sort of, worked together as much, like we have never sat down for beers or anything like that, but just in the time that I've met you guys have been a breath of fresh air, for what I personally I've been sort of used to, so to speak, when it comes to a lot of comedians. It's very difficult to get people to warm up to you and trust you or whatever it is. I find this industry is so competitive that it almost takes away from the humanistic side. Like, I'm a person, I care about people. I'm not just a fucking bro getting up there like, oh, fuck, everybody spell their own farts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I noticed you guys have been very, 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 very easy to talk to, very welcoming, real good people. It's sort of like I said, it's given me a breath of fresh air, man. I was saying to Joe that I really appreciated. It's a very little thing, but I thought it was really cool that like before we all went up on stage last Saturday at the Battle of Ontario, which I won, by the way. When we went up, everybody was like, okay, let's fucking do this. And you guys all got up. You're like, and you guys all like reached out your hands. You're like, okay, best of luck, best of luck. Like you. It's so silly and so small, but you kind of, I thought that was cool that you knew it was a competition, but you weren't sitting there like not talking to us or not talking to the Ottawa guys. You guys all were very 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 warm and easy to be around. And it means a lot, is what I'm saying.
100%. Like I echo that. You guys are just genuine. You're nice people, you're caring people, and you just want to help everybody. So,
as for
nailed
what's going on, I'm in that Sunday show, Dave and Jordan.
Yep.
But I'm going to see Queens of the Stone Age tonight with my sister, and I fucking can't wait.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
That's
right
that.
on.
That's
All
solid, man.
Yeah.
Well, I've said my final thoughts. So, Pat, the final word will be to you. Your final thoughts. You can promote your channels, your platforms, whatever it is you want. Final word is yours.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity and having me on tonight. Guys, if you're watching this, go support your boys. Follow us on social media at LOL Entertainment. But comedy is ultimately about that. We at LOL Entertainment, we want to see everybody succeed on the greater platform. We want to bring Ottawa, Cornwall, Montreal comics all up into the Hollywood stage. So support your local comedians, guys. Like, that's the ultimate biggest thing I would tell the people watching. But to you three, like, you guys are just as humble back to us. So it's an honor to always be on the same show. Jordan, you were actually at my first ever feature show at Comedy at Eddie's in Ottawa. And that was a show that I wasn't even aware of until the morning of. And I'd worked night shifts the night before. So I was like sleeping when Joe told whoever that I was going to be featuring that night. So I'm so pumped that I met all three of you guys and we're able to bring this to the next level. So again, thank you so much for having me, and it was a great time.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Pat. Always a blast, man.
Bottle's almost half, so.
All right, let's go. As always, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Paul. And thank you so much, Pat. We'd love to have you back anytime. And we will, there you go, LOL Entertainment. Make sure that you follow them on all their platforms. With that said, thank you, everybody. And we will see you all next time.
Later, guys.
And new WWE champion, Paul Bourgon. Put your hands together for Paul, everybody.
One of you guys has a crow problem
Our Father, for I have sinned.
on the lips.